Hello, I'm Barbara Bolger, and I had an experience of the Holy Spirit when I was a single woman, about 21 or 22, and my first prayer was for a suitable husband, and within 2 weeks I met Brian, my husband of 37 years. In fact, a little aside, but one I'm proud of, is that Luisa's mystical marriage, October 16th, is the anniversary my husband and I share, so that will be actually very soon. I therefore try to do the will of God through the action of the Holy Spirit as I raised my children. So my oldest is 35 and became a priest last year, and the youngest is 16. So I have 5 boys and 2 girls, and I felt that somehow I was not progressing spiritually, and it was in a physical move to this area of Maryland. I'm originally a New Yorker, but moved to Baltimore to join a charismatic community, and then out to Frederick, Maryland, a more pastoral area. And when I moved here, I asked the Holy Spirit, my best friend, for a friend, a physical friend, and the woman, and then a second woman who he brought into my life, and I was sure it was the Holy Spirit, were 2 Marian women who prayed the rosary. So I started praying the rosary, and then I wanted to make Mary my very best friend, and I read True Devotion to Mary by Louis de Montfort, started reading of all the apparitions that have happened in the world through Mary's intercession, her words of love to us as a mother, and I was overcome with a love and affection for Mary. And I asked her to guide me also with her spouse, the Holy Spirit, and that was beautiful. One day I walked into a bookstore and I saw a flyer, and it said, come to a Divine Will conference, and that was in 97, I think November of 97. And I had a quickening in my spirit, and I felt it was the Holy Spirit, that I should definitely attend this. And a few other women who are actually the prayer group that are putting on a conference right now as I'm speaking, we all attended this prayer time, a 2.5-day conference in Maryland at a university. And there I heard words that ignited a flame in my heart, that there was a teaching that would actually help me move further along the path to sanctity. And this teaching had the incongruity of not gaining necessarily more knowledge as much as forgetting oneself more and abandoning oneself more. And I started doing that in my family. And it was a tussle because I had a strong will and a sense of how things should go. But as I've done it and did it over the last 11 years and especially in the last 3 years, I feel that God has touched my family and Mary specifically, and I think it's through Luisa that this has happened. One thing I have noticed in my family is their desire for purity. My single children, my priest son and 5 single children, none of them are dating, even though they are very attractive, poised people. They feel that they love their gift of self that God has given to them, want to give it back to God, and if He were to show them the person to marry, they would readily agree, but they are not want to move out of the will of God. So even though my children don't read many of the writings of Luisa, they seem to, I guess through my little sermonettes and through maybe the way they see my life, they have come into a real respect for the will of God, as I have. And as my relationship with my husband, Brian, has improved as I have chosen to also abandon my will in the marriage and forsake my way, because knowing that God, the loving Father, will never forsake me. And so I don't have to have a tussle of will and might any longer, which used to be the case because we're just two proud Irishmen, as he likes to say. So I have found a bit more of the heaven of my soul as I've read Luisa. I've found more joy and a lightness, which has probably made my children want to be around me more, which is a delight, every mother's dream. So I just thank God, Mary, Luisa, precious Jesus, for helping bring me to this abandonment more and more to live in His holy will. It is a pleasure to have given this little testimonial. Thank you.
I first learned about Luisa Piccarreta in Canton, Ohio, through a parishioner of mine who gave me some of the writings of Luisa, and I began to study them and read them, and found them very, very interesting. And I did some more research on them, and we developed a prayer group in which they asked me then to be the spiritual director. And then at that time also, Father Giuseppe Bucci came to Ohio, and I was privileged to meet him and talk with him about Luisa, and became very involved with Divine Will prayer and study, and followed what Father Bucci had advised, and it led me into this deeper relationship to God's divine will through Luisa Piccarreta. And we developed a prayer group in Ohio, in Youngstown, which now has about 30 members, and we gather twice a month to study the Passion and the Virgin Mary, and to develop a deep sense of spiritual strength from the writings of Luisa and the Scriptures. And so this has really changed my life in a sense that has brought me closer to an understanding of the relationship between Luisa and God's mercy and His divine will for us all. It's a very, very fulfilling way of spiritual life, to draw a spiritual strength from a woman whose so simplistic ways have become for so many around the world a way to approach the love of Jesus Christ in the Blessed Sacrament. And this is what we need today. We need a more spiritual renewal to the love of Jesus in the Eucharist, a more spiritual renewal in the love of the holy sacrifice of the Mass, which Luisa herself has really given to all of us, a sense of prayer, devotion, and love for the Eucharistic Christ. And I find that her writing, her spiritual strength, has become for a lot of people a source of renewal, a way to come back to the sacraments, especially the sacrament of penance and Eucharist, to develop a strong prayer life, and a way in which they have renewed themselves with the grace of God and Holy Mother Church. Divine will has certainly been the hallmark and the strength for many, many people.